To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons.
What's that like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is Jonjo Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for the Necro Files 2. Written by Todd, well, how the f am I supposed to say that name? And directed by Ron Carlo, Matt Jasel, and Greg Lewis, according to IMDb. The Necro Files 2 stars all of these lot. Murder runs deep in the Logan family. The brother of the maniac turned zombie in the Necro Files becomes a crazed cannibal and unwittingly reanimates his evil brother's corpse as a flesh-eating zombie. Together, the pair go on a berserk killing spree in the streets of Seattle. Detectives Sloan and Manners investigate the grisly murders in the over-the-top sequel to the original cult classic, loaded with sick humor, nudity, and gore. Well, at least one of those is true. How you doing, my fellow dumpster divers? It's time for another entry in the rare subgenre that is the zombie. Some of you may remember last year for my special bonus Halloween episode, I covered a movie that baffled me with its greatness. A film so far beyond insanity that I kind of fell in love with it. The film also gave us the greatest gift of all time in the character Detective Sloan. A man who may or may not have been dropped on his head as a baby 300 to 400 times. Apart from the Lucifer Valentine Vomit Gore series, I haven't really had much of a chance to cover sequels, and unlike Her Name Was Torment, it's been ages since I covered the last one, so I reckon a recap is in order. I expect having a full understanding of the original film is going to be integral to the enjoyment of this one, so let's give it a quick look. Previously on the Necro Files. Rod Logan, serial killer and cannibal, was killed by superhero cop duo detectives Manners and Sloan. A year later, a bunch of cultists resurrect Logan with Chance and sacrificing the baby of one of his victims that actually survived. He then proceeds to murder all of them except these two. Logan then goes on a murder spree while the cops investigate the new killings and the cultists try to fix the problem they created. They do this by resurrecting the now dead baby, which can then fly. The baby kills the cultists as Logan falls in love with a sex doll who the baby also kills. Logan then goes after the baby and they collide with Manners and Sloan. In the final battle, the cops manage to defeat the undead, but the drug-addled Manners switches on Sloan, beats him to death, is cleared of all charges, joins the FBI and starts the Necro Files. The X-Files, but for zombies or whatever. You know, reading all of that out, it makes it sound kind of stupid. Now here we are 6 or so years later, and I can't wait to find out what our heroes have been up to. It's not going to be good, but it's going to be fun. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut at patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons for as little as $2 a month. I'm going to stop moaning about this after this video because it's just a fact of life now, but earning a livable wage off of YouTube is not an option anymore. That's why I feel as lucky as I do having the support of the patrons who without I wouldn't be able to produce this content or live. In return, they get access to the uncut videos plus a load of other cool stuff like the Discord. So if you want to be a part of that or just like the content enough to support it, please go to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. And just quickly, we also have a fundraiser going on to upgrade the studio. I really want to do some more streaming and horror game content, so if you want to see that as well, consider going over to gofundme.com/the-big-studio-upgrade. Any donations, big or small, are massively appreciated. And finally, if you don't want to do any of that but still like the content, please click the like button, click subscribe, and ring the bell to make sure that you get notified when these videos go up. YouTube isn't very good at letting the subscribers know on its own. We premiere a new review every Sunday at 6 PM UK time, and it would mean the world to me if you could come and join our growing community of weirdos, freaks, and all-round awesome people. You're the best, and you have no idea how much I appreciate it. But anyway, I am aching to see that zombie's monster dong, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to see what they meant when they said romance was dead. This is Necro Files 2. The movie begins with a title card and pretty amazing credit sequence filled with blood and naked ladies. So, tits covered in blood immediately. Nice. Point for you, movie. Cut to this guy his pants to the images and then to this woman in the kitchen. We see a man creeping in as the woman does the washing up, putting a pan on the side next to an empty draining board like an absolute psychopath. It also looks like the stuff she's washing is clean and there's no soap in the water. I know it's a bit early to say, but what the is going on? She pops a knife down and continues on when the man rushes out in a mask and clunks her on the head with the pan.
Now we're cooking.
Well, every single separate element of that clip was awful, so this is clearly going to be an excellent experience. He strips the woman naked as she makes noises like she's enjoying the whole thing before grabbing a knife, squeezing a tit and ending her life. And if you thought the effects in Dr. Wolfenstein were amazing, wait until you see this. This guy is so good with a knife that he doesn't even have to move it. He just presses it up against your skin and you pop. And check out this music transition here. Seamless. Danny Elfman, more like Fanny music. He then f***s her dead body. And he then gives her a taste of his salty milkshake to finish. Off to a good start then. Finally, the killer writes on her tum-tum in blood and cuts off a chunk of her flesh which he noisily eats. The fact that I find the sound of him eating grosser than him a dead body says a lot about me. I blame my mum. Cut to this car where inside we find detectives Manners and Sloan. What the f***? The last movie ended with Manners killing Sloan and joining the FBI to start the Necro Files. Now they're partners again. And you could say, wait, Jonjo, this is just a fresh story being told with the same characters, but no. In this scene, Manners refers to the events of the original film, saying that this new killer reminds him of Logan, the original zombie. Is this a remake? What the f*** is going on? Manners says the new killer has killed like 20 girls and bangs a cheeky line as Sloan continues to be an icon.
I don't know if you've been sick for so long. I mean, just you see it on TV all the time. People dying from the AIDS.
To which Manners responds,
Son of a calling me a
No.
You want me to suck your
go on then. Manners says Sloan chasing zombies for a living has made him paranoid, and Sloan again says people are dying from the AIDS and he doesn't want to lose Manners too.
Your concern is touching, but I ain't got AIDS.
This scene has got so many quotable lines. Manners finally tells him to shut up and just keep an eye out for the killer. Cut to said killer having a vision of a knife going into someone's butthole when he puts on the mask, and we cut back to the car. Manners whinges about the stakeout being a wash, tells Sloan to head downtown and bust some punks, then gets out and sparks a cigarette. Cut to a giant moon hovering over a super low quality city, and then to this woman running down a hall. She's being chased by Manners and they pop shots off at each other when she hits a dead end and the cop catches her. He pushes her inside this covered bathroom and pulls out her jubblies, getting all He then pulls his out and drags her back into the hall, telling her she's under arrest, and we hear a gunshot. And then the scene just ends. Cut to this woman doing her makeup when the killer sneaks in through a window and puts on his mask. And here's a question for anybody that wears makeup. When you're doing your makeup, do you make noises like this? I might be wrong here, but is that the exact same vocal track that they used for the woman in the kitchen? Perhaps this is because this is how the killer perceives all women, all the same and overly sexualized. Or it's just a film. You decide. He jumps out on her, telling her to get up against the wall, makes her strip, touches her, then makes her touch him. So she wanks him off until he shoots his load all over her chest. Next, he makes her show her before once again gently pressing his magic knife to her throat. He then plays with her boob, asking how it feels to be dead, and we get a final shot of her covered in fake blood. Cut to the killer washing the blood off of his hands when in the mirror we see that shot of the butthole knifing. He reaches out for it as it disappears, and we cut to a graveyard. Here we see the killer stumbling around drunk, sipping on a 40. He pours it on this grave, saying the person buried there was the best brother anyone ever had, then vomits before having a It seems the incantation the cultist did in the first one wasn't necessary, as the piss and vomit have the same effect, resurrecting our favourite long dong zombie who takes off running. Cut to the woods where this woman is walking, probably thinking to herself how awesome it is that she's never been by a zombie before. Unfortunately for her, Logan is roaming these same woods, and it's not long before we see him hiding behind a tree ready to strike. He then stalks her for a lot longer than you'd expect, with the director trying to build tension and showing a lot of restraint. The woman goes to climb over a fallen branch when she finally notices Logan, who pushes her down and knocks her out. Cut to him carrying the unconscious woman to God knows where. She wakes up, breaks free, and runs into this plastic tent like a dickhead, but Logan just drags her out. Logan then strips her completely naked, even taking off her socks, and f***s her to death. Like, literally to death. Until blood starts pouring out of her mouth. And with a like that on him, I'm not surprised. Anyway, after she's dead, he rips her tits off. And eats them. Next, he pulls her guts out and eats them too before growling at the sky as the scene fades to black. Cut to Sloan meeting Manners outside the police department. He asks his partner how his night went, and Manners says he met a girl, but she bit off more than she could chew.
Suck my dick, bitch. Oh, God.
Sloan then says the killer took out another girl last night, bringing his total up to 5. Earlier, Manners said 20, and I'm confused. Was he talking about Logan? Didn't seem to be. What the f*** is going on? Sloan then says last night he found out that someone saw the killer drive away from one of his victims, and they now have the car description. Manners says let's go, and then they crash their car. Don't worry, it never comes up again. Cut to Logan creeping about when he smells vagina and his monster wakes up. Cut to this fella sparking a cigarette and his lady friend stripping off. They then start canoodling as we repeatedly cut to Logan's eyes. We are then blessed with the best line and line delivery in cinematic history.
Bloody hell, what? Blimey, it's the zombie. Blimey, it's the zombie.
Hell, man. It's kind of funny that in the original film, around the same time, Logan attacked a couple that were having sex and the man turned out to be British. Come to think of it, he also f***ed a girl to death in the woods around the same time in the last movie. Is this a remake? I need to understand! Logan swipes the guy to death, then jumps on the girl as we cut to Sloan waking up from a nightmare.
Oh God, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's a zombie from the grave. He came back. Oh God.
Sloan, mate, do you want to do another take on that one? No? Okay. The cops get a call about another murder, but the dispatcher says she was also partially eaten. Sloan asks what part of her was eaten, and the dispatcher says the part Sloan's never seen.
Well, that can't be, Frank. I've been laid before. In fact, I was with your mother last night. You sweaty mother. Hey.
I f***ing love this guy. Manners tells dispatch they're on their way and they set off. As we cut to something I've genuinely never seen before. A man putting ketchup on a severed vagina. Which is disgusting. That is way too much ketchup. The killer hears someone coming, so stuffs the whole vag into his mouth as he's joined by his boss and his missus. He tells the killer he needs this footage of his girl edited by tomorrow, as he's promised her she's gonna be a big star, all while she rearranges her kill your own grandmother for 5 minutes with tits.
You understand, you fat lard gut? You get your fat out between your ears, listen to me loud and clear, and do what I said.
I would feel bad for the guy, but he did just eat an entire vagina in one sitting. His boss kinda has a point. The boss then leaves and we cut to this woman ringing the doorbell as Logan hides in the bushes. Inside, this fella is watching an adult film and doesn't hear the ringing, but eventually answers, and holy f***, he's another British guy.
Hi, how you doing? Come on in. You must be my darling hooker.
Yeah, right. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Why are there so many British people in this movie? Cut to a shot right up this girl's arsehole, so clear I could see the sphincter rings. He spanks her for a bit, then starts banging her with his underwear on when the door goes again. He opens it and Logan crashes in, attacking the man. We cut to another shot and suddenly there's blood pouring out of the man's mouth when the girl tries to hit Logan with the bottle but misses and hits the man. At least I assume that's what happened. It really looks like she just hits the guy. Maybe she's all drunk from the pounding she was just getting and can't see straight. Logan then turns his attention to the girl who suddenly without cause just passes out. The zombie then wipes his on her leg for a bit before sticking it in, which unsurprisingly wakes her up pretty quickly. The man also wakes up and tries to pull Logan off, not like that, and gets de-penised for the effort. Logan then f***s the girl with the severed penis, flips her over and rips her tits off. And presumably eats them. We don't get to see him eat the ripped off tits, but judging from the context of the previous time he ripped a woman's tits off, I'm going to assume now he's ripped her tits off, he's going to treat those ripped off tits with the same behaviour as he did the original ripped off tits. Sorry, breasts. Cut to Sloan run into his car and call him Manners, who's in an alley somewhere doing coke. Manners answers and Sloan tells him the car they have the description of is exactly the same as Logan's brother, the killer. Manners tells Sloan where to pick him up and pulls a gun on the coke dealer, making him piss his pants. In response, the dealer says he can have the drugs, so Manners just lets him go. Sorry to repeat myself, but it is interesting because we get a very, very similar scene in the last film, except that scene ended with Manners actually shooting the guy in the head, so it ended better. If this is a remake, it's a shit one. And if it's a sequel, it doesn't make any f***ing sense. At the very least, there's a lot more tits and so there's that. Cut to the cops knocking on Logan's brother's door. The man isn't home, however, and Sloan says he's probably out killing whores.
He's probably out right now killing more horrors.
He says they need to stop the madness when this happens. And a car pulls up. Out walks the killer and the cops say they want to ask a couple of questions, so he invites them inside for coffee. Cut inside, but the killer suddenly remembers that these two are the ones who killed his brother 6 years ago. Manners says they have proof that he's been following in his brother's footsteps, and if he doesn't give them the right answers, he's going to death row. The killer denies being the killer, and Sloan tells him what happened the last time they saw his brother.
We cut him up into little pieces after we caught him sacrificing babies to Satan. Cut off his too. I bet he's singing soprano in hell. The rest of the devil's castrated helpers. The
killer calls them sick, says he's going to get a lawyer, and tells them he doesn't deserve to be persecuted for things his brother did years ago. You know, I think this film would have been marginally more interesting if we didn't actually have it confirmed from the start that the killer is the vagina-eating killer. At the very least, it would have made the fact that his voice changes when he puts on the mask make a little bit more sense narratively. I mean, it would have been obvious, but still added an extra layer to the story that this film so desperately needs. He again says he's going to get a lawyer, and Manners comes back with this chat.
You want your lawyer? You son of a bitch! I got your lawyer! He charges $3.57 an hour!
I unironically really love that line. Manners then shoots something into his arm and suggests they go get tacos, but Sloan says they need to take the suspect in. Manners kicks the killer in the face, and we cut to 1 hour later as he walks out of the police station a free man. In and out in 1 hour after being arrested on suspicion of rape and murder. Alright. Cut to Sloan dreaming about a woman in the shower soaping up her tits and vag. She goes to her bedroom when Logan bursts through the door and he wakes up. He tells Manners he had another dream and his wasted partner tells him he needs to stop sleeping so much. He then does more drugs with Sloan having another whinge.
What the f*** are you doing, Manners? We've got to be focused. We've got to catch a serial killer. He's going to strike again and soon.
Manners then suggests they go take out a commune of hippies and asks Sloan if he's with him.
What do you say, partner? You're with me? Or you're not with me?
F*** no, know I'm not with you.
Manners tells him he's no fun at all when we cut to the killer in his office. He's joined by his boss who asks about the footage of his girl. The killer says it isn't ready yet, so boss man says he better have it ready in 10 minutes or he's gonna loosen up that ass. Do my work or you're gonna rip my butthole. What am I, an intern for Andrew Tate? Outside, the cops pull up to surveil the suspect. Manners then gives the office a call as we cut to the boss getting his tape from the killer. Boss then says he's fired as he just got a call from a concerned citizen. The killer tries to beg, asking what he's supposed to do now, but the boss just fucks him off out of there. I'm curious, does anyone else feel like it's been a billion years since the last zombie scene? The boss gets another call from his big-breasted beau, and when his back is turned, we're given the worst throat slitting of the entire film.
That's right, baby. I'm coming right over.
Jesus Christ, man, they're not even fucking trying, are they? The cops then see the killer leave his office and decide to follow him.
We gotta catch this sick before he makes any more innocents suffer.
Like your sister Maggie? I've heard that story before. Jesus.
When I hit $1,000 a month on the Patreon, I'm letting the patrons choose my next tattoo, and one of the suggestions is a portrait of Sloane. I really hope that one wins. I like that suggestion a lot more than this one. Thanks, Patrick. Mate. Fucking hell. Cut to the killer using Miss Big Tits as a wheelbarrow. Outside, the cops are trying to figure out which building the killer went into, and back inside, the killer is stabbing the absolute out of Lady Tittington.
1, 2 stabs, 3 stabs, 4.
We then cut back outside for another slice of Sloane.
Well, gee, hey, thanks, Matters. I worry about you too. You're my partner after all.
I always thought it was the actor that was challenged, but now I'm starting to think it's a deliberate character trait. Maybe a bit of both. Cut inside as we see the woman with the bombastic breasticles dead in the bath.
Looks like you got your period early. Smell you later.
Did he just f***ing say smell you later? The killer leaves, and that's when he just so happens to bump into his long-deceased brother.
Wait. That cop was right. Rod, it's me, your brother.
The cops saunter up towards the men as the killer stuffs Logan into his van and tries to make a getaway. It then switches from day to night instantly, and we get an epic car chase. The killer pulls up at his place and Logan can't seem to work out how car doors work, so his brother helps him and they duck inside. He then pulls out his latest movie for his brother as we cut outside to see the cops in the bushes. Sloane wonders whether or not they should call it in, but Manners says no as he needs this bust. Speaking of bust, we then cut inside to see Logan watching the film and himself off.
Big, yeah. Fatherland has his ways of getting rid of cases.
And with that woman on screen, I'm not surprised. What I am surprised about, however, is the fact that when he cuts on the telly, he does it with such force that it breaks it.
Fine.
That's some dangerous. The worst thing my ever done is make your mum fall in love with me. The cannot get enough. Cut to the killer ordering a hooker and then discovering the mess his brother made. He tells him about his order and then asks the most important question of all. The question that's been on all of our minds ever since the first film.
If I die and come back to life, am I get that big?
I love the way that Logan shrugs there. He's just like, I don't know. I woke up with it. Cut outside as the sex worker pulls up and knocks on the door. The killer stuffs Logan in the bathroom and lets the woman in as Sloane pleads with Manners to act, but he refuses, saying they need to wait. Inside, the girl of my dreams gives the killer a lap dance, slapping his tits as Logan takes a dump. Zombies in this universe need to Noted. Cut to a lovely shot of the woman's entire asshole and vagina and then back to Logan's The woman then picks up the killer's mask, calling it sexy, and he says he didn't want her to see it. She offers to put it on, but the killer isn't up for that, so she instead tells him to put it on. She says she needs to use the bathroom, but when she comes back, she wants him wearing the mask and ready for her. She leaves and he puts the mask on when we get to see the state of the toilet. How? How is that even possible? She decides she doesn't need it that bad, goes back to the killer, and they bang.
Gonna have a good time tonight.
Outside, Manners realizes he's lost his drugs and accuses Sloane of hiding his The killer then says this.
They call me a human speed bump to make all the stop and take notice.
What? What the f does that even mean? Surely you could come up with something better than that. They call me the human speedboat because I get your motor running. Because I'll get you wet quick. Because I've got 10,000 horsepower and dumb bitches like to drink champagne while they ride me. Literally anything else. Things are going well when Logan enters the chat and the pair double team her for a bit until she falls on the ground. The killer then tells Logan to deal with the cops outside and we cut to Logan facing off against Sloane.
Freeze! Don't even think about it, face.
Ah!
You're gonna pay, asshole.
Cut back to the killer as he stabs my future wife and then back to Logan as he's pursued by Sloane. And here's another wonderful moment we could only ever get in this film as we actually hear Sloane shout bang over the gunshot.
You'll pay your dead meat again, forever this time. Bang!
How? I literally have no words. Cut to the killer killing the most beautiful girl in the world when Manners comes in and deals with him. Good. You deserve that for taking my sweet baby angel out of this world. Now, better deal with that before she gets cold. In the process, it looks like the killer tagged Manners, which he acknowledges before being joined by Sloane, who says he just killed Logan. Killed him with one bang bullet. In the first one, they had to chop him up into tiny pieces. Now he's going down with one shot to the head. Lame! Manners says he's been a bad partner but wants one more shot to go out on and asks Sloane again if he has his drugs. Sloane admits he does and shoots him up, which Manners accepts, then starts kicking off.
What are you doing? I'm your partner, man. I'm your friend. I was trying to help.
Stole my dope, asshole!
Again? Poor Sloane. When will he learn, eh? Cut outside as Logan's is struck by lightning and he's resurrected once again. The end! Well, not only does Necro Files 2 make Necro Files 1 look like a cinematic masterpiece, but I think this might genuinely be the worst film I have ever seen in my entire life. Jesus f***ing Christ, man. The Necro Files 2 is a movie that fails on every single level imaginable, taking bad cinema to new heights as it takes an original but admittedly silly concept presented in the first film and immediately does everything it can to ruin what little enjoyment you could have from it. The story is complicated for me as it juggles being both a remake and a sequel, taking many elements from the original film, cutting the cultists and the baby and replacing them with the much less entertaining brother. When I saw the original, I hated the cultists and thought the baby was beyond stupid, but now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I miss them. Even Logan's brief love affair with the sex doll. Clearly the film was going for silly comedy and in a few instances it actually landed for me. In part 2, however, I found it hard to see where the jokes were. The killer saying smell you later? The farting? Eating the vagina? Okay, to be fair, that was pretty funny. How do you take a film and make an even sequel? You take out all the good parts. Why would you do this? Even the ending was a massive letdown. You're supposed to amp everything up for the sequel, but instead you took almost everything a step down. Manners didn't even shoot the drug dealer. Do I have anything positive to say? There was a lot more nudity, surprisingly graphic nudity, and a few chunky shots which are always entertaining. I also like that this film felt a lot more sleazy than the original, but that's about it. In terms of performances, of course, everybody is terrible. The most entertaining characters are again Manners and Sloane, and while Sloane is on form as always, unfortunately Manners doesn't seem quite as manic as he did in the original. Really, neither of these characters should even be in the movie, but if they're gonna be in it, at least keep Manners a nutter, or better yet, take the even further. But yeah, long story short, no Oscars here. Next, it's the gore, and Christ almighty, it is terrible. We get the guts and the ripped off tits, but when it comes to knife wounds, they are not trying at all. From what I remember, they at least made an effort in the first one. It still looked awful, but they gave it a go. Here, they're just putting fake blood on hot women, and not even moving the knife or attempting to fake a slash. Truly awful. Shockingly bad. And finally, the presentation is, as with everything else, dog shit. The music, sound and everything in between is all shockingly bad with no redeeming features. We do get 2 ridiculously terrible visual effects with the bird's eyes and the lightning at the end, so in that respect at least the most minimal extra effort was made to provide some sort of entertainment, but yeah, even in terms of no budget shot on video schlock, this is something else. All in all, the Necro Files 2 is offensively bad. It's a sequel that fails to outdo its predecessor in every single way, basically boiling down to nothing more than aggressively unfunny material. I'm sure everyone involved had a lot of fun making it, but I find it mental that not only did the team learn nothing from making the previous entry, but seem to actively get so much worse at filmmaking. I really am flabbergasted by the whole thing. I recommend the Necro Files 2, but make sure you watch it before watching part 1, as it makes that film about 1 billion times better. So that was my review for Necro Files 2. What do you lot think? I am genuinely dumbfounded by this one. It is worse than the first one in every single possible way, and I have no idea how this happened. The only saving graces being the quota and the nudity. That one shot of my wife where you can see so far up her butthole that her soul is visible was definitely a highlight. Speaking of which, if you want to witness the power that is Logan's 2-foot-long zombie penis completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/Jonjo Lyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review, plus others with more stuff being added all the time. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, slasher comic breakdowns, and the Discord. And very soon, the first episode of my podcast, Where the F***'s My Sequel, which I'm going to be recording straight after this. And all that can be yours for as little as $2 a month. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, but don't. Instead, take that extra cash and go to the GoFundMe at gofundme.com/thebigstudioupgrade. Like I said earlier, I'm trying to upgrade all my stuff so I can start making all different kinds of content, so if you want to see that go over there now. And above all else, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Jonjo Lyons, and what is it with the women I love dying? First Tina last week and now the unnamed whore. And never in real life either. If the women I loved in real life died, maybe this world would be a better place. Good night, everybody.